Hey, it's Mr. Van Duzen. It is Monday, May 25th at about 9 o'clock in the morning. And being a history teacher, I wanted to give you a little history on Memorial Day. So, most people have the day off of work today, most people, even if they're working through the COVID-19 pandemic. I know, like, the Veterans Administration Hospital is most people have the day off of work today, and that's in order to celebrate or to remember, memorialize those who passed away fighting for our freedom in the military. So I'm going to share my screen here. I have just a little PowerPoint here with some information on it. So hopefully you can all see this, but Memorial Day, if you look, it sounds a lot like memory, because that's what we're here to do, is to memorialize or remember our fallen heroes from the military. So it was first celebrated 3 years after the Civil War in order to recognize the veterans of the Civil War, specifically the Confederate side, which might seem odd because the South and the Confederates lost, but you have to remember it was the American Civil War, and every single casualty during that war was an American citizen. With that, it was originally known as Decoration Day because they would take that time to decorate those gravestones with flowers to help remember their sacrifice. By about 1900 or so, it changed from being just recognizing the Civil War veterans to recognizing all veterans who passed away in the war. And it got changed from Decoration Day officially to Memorial Day in 1967. And it became an official U.S. federal holiday in 1971. So if you go to a cemetery around Memorial Day, you're going to see some different things. Okay, so you may see people placing flags. This is a picture of my son. We went out and helped place flags at the Iron Mountain Cemetery. So when you walk through the cemetery and you see a small U.S. flag, you know that that person was a veteran. It doesn't necessarily mean they died in a war, but they did serve our country. Okay, so if you walk up to one of those gravestones, another thing you're going to see is you're going to see a veteran's marker. Okay, so this is my grandpa. He is buried in Alvin, Wisconsin, and this is his grave marker. And the veteran marker tells you a few things about the veteran. First, obviously, it tells you their name. Now it says Garrett Spencer. If you look at the bottom, everybody called him Todd. How did he get that name? I don't know. But it tells you his name, it tells you his rank, and what branch of the service he was in. And it also tells you the conflict at the time period he or she served. So this Garrett Spencer, he was a private first class PFC in the United States Army, and he served during World War II. Okay, I believe my grandpa served 4 years. He was stationed in Hawaii. So every single veteran's gravestone has a marker like this. So you can tell their rank, what branch of service, and what conflict they served in. And then obviously it has their birth date and the date they passed away. Another thing you're going to see is if that veteran had a spouse, they will also have a marker. So this was my grandma, Garrett's wife, Elaine Spencer, loving wife and mother, and they don't have any markers of to rank, branch, or conflict because they didn't serve, but they're still memorialized as that veteran's spouse. So you can see there's her birthday, and they actually just a few days ago were able to put her date of death on there. So there's some things you'll see at the cemetery. You'll see a lot of flags marking every veteran's grave, and every veteran will have a veteran marker. So I highly encourage you, if you go to a cemetery, check some of those things out because they're fascinating. And you will see some that served during the Civil War. There's some that are old enough to serve during the Civil War. You'll see a lot of World War I, quite a few World War II, some Vietnam, Korea, Iraq and Afghanistan. Those veterans are still fairly young, but they do pass away and they'll have a marker on them. So let me get out of screen share and we'll talk just a little bit more. There we go. So another kind of interesting thing, if you go to a cemetery, you may see some coins on a veteran's grave, and those all mean something kind of new. I didn't know about this until recently, but if you see a penny on somebody's gravestone, that means that a fellow veteran has visited. If you see a nickel, that indicates that whoever visited and left the nickel was at basic training with that veteran. And if you see a dime on the gravestone, that means that whoever visited served with that veteran in some capacity, either in a different unit, maybe overseas. And if you see a quarter, that is telling the family that whoever visited was with that service member when they were killed. So please leave any coins that you find on gravestones there, because they have a very significant meaning, especially for the family. Imagine being a family member and walking up to a loved one's gravestone and seeing, you know, some dimes and quarters, and that's really a special thing. So everybody celebrates Memorial Day a little bit differently. Some people simply have a barbecue or go out to the lake and have a big family celebration, and that is awesome, because that's exactly what those men and women who died defending our country were fighting for, was for the freedom to celebrate those types of things, especially with our families. Some choose to go visit cemeteries, some choose to meet up. I know a lot of fellow veterans that meet up with other veterans and kind of tell stories and talk about the ones that they lost. If you see me in class, you'll see I wear this bracelet every day, and it has the names of 7 men that I served with in Iraq that passed away during the war. So I remember them a little bit every day. Okay, so however you remember the veterans that serve this country, you have the freedom to celebrate however you want. Hopefully you learned a little bit something, especially about the gravestones, the grave markers, and the coins. And I encourage you to go out and be an American that those veterans think's worth fighting for.